Welcome to the Jets UK podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Andrews Groves, and I'm joined by a guest today because David and Matt are a little bit tied up. Of all weeks, they're a little bit tied up, but we've got a great fill-in guest. Will Parkinson from the Turn on the Jets podcast joins me. Will, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be on.
No, it's obviously a great week, fantastic, a really fun week for Jets fans specifically, for NFL fans, but Jets fans specifically, because we are always big players in the market in the off-season Kings. It's just been a crazy week. What's your general feelings about business so far as we record just after the Jacob Martin signing and how business has been done so far?
I've been it's been solid. It's been like all positive pretty much, for the most part. Not they weren't big players in like the top tier of the market other than Laken Tomlinson, but they've added like really nice pieces, either above average or above average starters at, 4 or 5 places. And I think that's what you kind of want free agency. They've spent money, but they haven't been, throwing crazy money around like some other teams. And,
we know that team.
They've kept themselves, they have flexibility to kind of do whatever they like still. But they've added quality players, both, on the field. They've had some good locker room guys. They were able to retain players. So, it's been all good stuff so far. Obviously, the Jets are famous for winning the offseason. I actually genuinely feel like this is one of those free agency periods where you feel really good about where they're at. And, between that and the draft and last year's rookie class, like, you have to feel pretty good about the direction they're going in right now.
Yeah, it does seem like it's a different era of Jets. The way that Joe Douglas is running the offense, the way that the pieces together with the coaches and what they want and the kind of players that are coming in, it really seems to be fit to style. And it's not, like I said, it's just measured additions. I think that fills the holes to raise the quality of the bottom of our team is raise the quality up there. And then you fill in with those, maybe you can go best player available in the draft. It just opens you a bit, there's a few spots that we're going to have to target, but that's natural. But you can generally go best player. You're not having a massive hole, which is the number one thing that we talked about. I'm sure a lot of us talked about in Jets land, where you just don't want to go into the draft with massive holes where you got to reach on a player. So I think they've achieved that so far, and obviously it's still not over. There's still some good players out there and some solid star players potentially, and some solid depth players as well to bring in. So so we'll go through kind of offensively and then defensively the additions that we've made, and it'll be mostly kind of the bigger signings. Obviously we've had a lot of kind of guys being retained that we've kind of brought on a low deal, like say Joe Flacco and Mike White have been brought back in to kind of back up Zach Wilson. But we'll start off with the first deal of the week that came in. That was Laken Tomlinson coming in from the 49ers. What was your take on Laken Tomlinson coming in?
Yeah, I think it was a good move. Pretty much market value for kind of where things landed. Alex Kappa got the same deal pretty much as well. So kind of that it's really basically a 2-year deal, 3-year deal, $40 million, but it's going to be probably more likely a 2-year, $27 million deal. Really nice player, guy who's gotten better. Was once he got into the Shanahan scheme, was really kind of his game has gone to another level. Last year was very good. The one concern with him was a right guard in college. Has played left guard for the last 5-6 years. So you kind of changing spots isn't necessarily I'm not worried about it, but that's going to be the one. That's the one, I guess, kind of criticism you could have of the move. But look, they brought in a Pro Bowl level guard to a spot where they needed a new right guard badly. Both guard spots right now have Pro Bowl level potential, which is huge. And the Jets were obviously high on him at the combine. It was one of the worst kept secrets, like Laken Tomlinson, the Jets. But nasty player up front, physical, good for the locker room. So I like the signing a lot. Again, it's hopefully he is able to transition smoothly to right guard. But other than that, I would say I like the signing a lot.
Yeah, it definitely does fill out that last spot. That was that weak spot in the line, which obviously can be it can be a killer if you have that one spot. And we saw multiple plays and multiple situations where that right guard spot was just was ruining plays and ruining game plans. So to fill that in with a high quality player. It's a great addition. I think. Yeah, you're right. Moving over from left to right, Could have there's question marks there, but other than that, it's a slam dunk because of the scheme fit, the familiarity with the staff, and then with him. So I think overall, it's a really good deal, and I'm really happy about it too. Sticking on the offense, we brought in two tight ends up to this point. So CJ Uzama joins from the Bengals and Tyler Conklin from the Vikings. We're running 12 personnel. And we've got some decent players to do it. So finally, back to 12 personnel and not trying to do it with some absolute garbage tight end play.
Yeah, I guess for me, something that the Jets want to be very versatile in what they're able to do. They want to be able to, in certain situations and against certain teams, be able to be heavy 12 personnel and run the ball and more play action. Other times, they want to be able to spread teams out and throw the ball around. So having that flexibility and having that option now is huge, right? Like, the Jets are not every game going to sit and not run three receiver sets, but at the same time, there's games where they're going to need to be physical and run the ball and be able to, line up and get mismatches there. And last year I think the Jets tight ends combined had like 520 yards or something like that, and Uzama had almost as much himself. Conklin had more. So I like both signings. They're both kind of similar deals. Almost 3 years, $24 million. Uzama's cap hit this year is very small. I think it's only $3 million, and then it's again classic Joe Douglas fashion. It's really only a 2-year deal. The third year, realistically, they're not going to pay that. But we'll see on Conklin's deal if it's structured the same. I like both guys. They both can catch the ball well. They're both competent blockers. Like, that's what you really need. You just can't have duds in the run game, which is, I wouldn't consider Ryan Griffin a good blocker.
No.
And they can always add a guy on day 3, in the draft if they want to as a third option. But they've improved the tight end room immensely. Like, it went from probably the worst tight end room in football to middle of the pack now, maybe a top 12 or 13 unit, and that's more than good enough for what they need right now. They didn't overpay. They got guys that are in their prime, and they both have good pass catching options that can help Zach Wilson down the line.
Yeah, I think it's you look at the deals that for example Dalton Schultz would have been he got 15 million as part of the cap. It's the same money, when we get
Yeah,
two of them. So in terms of team building, it's good because obviously maybe Dalton Schultz is better than both of them, but you get two for the price of it, which is massive to fill out a room that was devoid of talent. And probably the Trey McBride dream died on the announcement of Tyler Conklin signing. So, I think everyone was mocking him. Somewhere between the first two, obviously there's two second round picks. Maybe they were getting a bit cheeky with that third round pick, but he was going around there. Now that obviously you're looking at a day 3 pick in a very deep draft for Tyson. So I think we could have 3 really quality players in that room now. So it's just a massive sea change. The last offensive player in terms of notes is one that we know very well, and that was bringing back Braxton Berrios at a very good affordable deal. We set the price, he tested the market and came back and signed it. It's nice to get Brax back.
Yeah, I mean, I can't. I have nothing bad to say about getting Brax back. I think I thought he was going to get paid slightly more in the open market from everything I heard.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see him be able to come back and look. I think it's a good deal, right? It's 2 years, $12 million. It's really a 1-year deal. Again, be able to bring back some continuity. A guy that earned an extension, earned his second contract with the Jets. Obviously, they were never going to overpay for him in terms of like if he was looking for $8-9 million a year. That was never going to happen. But I think it's a fair deal for them. It gives him another chance to prove that it wasn't just a 1-year thing. And if he has a great year again this year, either it will be maybe the Jets will pay him, again, or another team will. But for the Jets' sake, they were able to return an all-pro returner, and a guy that's a contributor on offense. So I'm happy with the deal. I think it just shows in good faith that the Jets are able to. This is the second time now John Franklin Myers as well. We saw technically Nate Shepard got a second contract, but John Franklin Myers and Braxton Berrios are two guys who the Jets brought in on waivers, were able to grow and really play well, and the Jets rewarded them with contract extensions, and that's huge. It's good for the morale of the locker room too to show if I play well, I'll get paid. So the Jets paid Brax, and obviously everyone saw the cool video with the girl that was tweeting at him and all that stuff. It's all good. It's all good morale stuff, and he's a good player on the field as well.
Yeah, no, it's a really good story overall, and yeah, dare I say he took a hometown discount potentially. Maybe he was getting slightly more, but not enough that he wanted to move and to be out of his where he's comfortable and being successful last year. So maybe things are changing in terms of, first of all, obviously not paying any kind of jet tax, and Joe Douglas won't. But obviously, maybe some people are saying, I'll take a little bit less to be in a good situation. So that's where it works out, and that's really where you start to build a really good team. Is where you can start getting 3 or 4 million or a million, 2 million off certain deals. And then from that combined, you start to be able to add more people because that combined you're able to sign more people to deals. And be really competitive. So no, this is a slowly turning. You can see it slowly turning bit by bit. Obviously we need to hold our breaths a little bit because we've been through a long spell of being pretty terrible for the last decade, as we all know. So it's just, but these are the signs where you go, this is different. This feels a bit different. There's like different vibe to everything that's going on a little bit with the team, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. I like kind of look at it, and this is a weird example. I don't know how many people that watch soccer, football, whatever, but I kind of feel like we were
My
in.
audience probably
Okay,
a lot of them
probably
probably,
does.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
good. So like this is gonna sound like a weird example, especially after yesterday, but like Arsenal were so good for such a long time, or had such a like stable, like they were always successful, right? Like
Mm.
they weren't really ever winning, other than I've seen Invincible year, but it was every year in the league they were top four finish, and the Jets for a long time, from 1998 through 2010, were pretty much in the playoffs either every other year basically, and they were always a team that was kind of competitive, and then kind of just all bottomed out, and they kind of hit rock bottom a little bit.
Mm.
Obviously, you hope that the 2 years ago was rock bottom, but they started building this youth, and they started kind of having an identity, and people started coming in. And from that perspective, like I do think they have this really young roster. They started to get guys that are more of that veteran presence. They're going to stick with their head coach, their manager, whatever. And again, I think it's good. Like a guy like Braxton Berrios, as much as I don't know how many wins he adds for you, but maybe he's worth half a win throughout the year, but that half a win super important. And then what he is in the locker room is obviously really well liked. Every single person you saw, every player on the team was tweeting at him and happy for him. So
Yeah.
the Tomlinson move was really good from an on-field perspective. Like that was a huge need. Barris wasn't necessarily a need, but it was really nice to have. And again, they didn't overpay. I think, like I said, I think that they thought the market was going to be a little stronger for him. I know the Patriots were very much interested in him. I know Miami had some interest. Now it gives him another chance to, prove how good he really is, and hopefully for the Jets he performs well, and we can have this conversation again in a year of whether he'll be a Jet in 2023 or not.
Yeah. I mean, it looks it's all good vibes, and he has such a great relationship with Zach as well, on and off the field. So, yeah, just great, another great addition. We turn our attention to the defensive side of the ball, and on day two of the kind of free agent window, the tampering period, effectively, we brought in the two defenders that we brought in so far of significance, and that was DJ Reed, the cornerback from the Seahawks, and Jordan Whitehead, the safety from the Bucks. So, what's your feelings about these signings?
I was just actually looking at Jordan Whitehead's contract details dropped. I don't know how Joe Douglas does some of these contracts, the
Two
way he
year,
structures.
14 and a half.
But it's
Yeah, yeah.
but it's crazy. Is so Jordan Whitehead for 2020, for 2022 is only going to make $4 million,
Mm.
and theoretically, if the Jets wanted to, they could cut him after this year if he wasn't good for some reason. It's just insane. Like
The
the way he,
negotiation, I think this Joe
yeah,
Douglas is one superpower is negotiation when you took these trades. I
yeah,
mean, that we can just quickly mention talking about defensive Blake Cashman getting anything for him. I mean,
yeah,
how did he
yeah,
convince people that he wasn't made of glass? Like that's
yeah.
crazy.
I know.
And
It's
then
just
every trade, the Jamal Adams one, the Leonard Williams one, the Donald one, the Herndon one, he doesn't lose trades. And then the negotiations, he has his price and he gets good value. So far in these 2 years, especially, he's just had great value. It's incredible, really.
it's nuts, and I love the Jordan Whitehead signing. Marcus Williams was a miss. Whether people want, the Jets were very interested in him, and it would have been nice.
Do you think he was
That's
asking for too much from the Jets, though? Right? Like he
yeah,
was,
from the Jets' perspective. So
yeah,
I reported, and I know Connor Hughes reported to other people that basically he was looking for between $17 and $20 million a year. That was from a Jets perspective.
yeah.
he necessarily wasn't looking for that on the open market. He was looking at, obviously, he signed for 5 years, $70 million with the Ravens. So, the Jets are going to have to do that proverbial Jets tax. Again, I'll use another soccer example, that Manchester United tax, where like you just, they know you have money, so they're going to make you pay more. Jordan Whitehead's a nice signing. He's a different player. He's a box safety more so. He's really good in the run game. He's a good zone coverage guy, but the Jets still need to address a second, another free safety. But from a Whitehead perspective, really good tactic, good in the run game. Like another guy that you watch when he leaves, and all of a sudden every single player on that team is, is upset he's leaving. Yeah. I always, it's so stupid, but Marcus May leaving, I love Marcus May. I thought, it would have been nice to be able to keep him, but it didn't seem like the entire Jets organization was like, damn, Marcus left. It was like, there is something to be said for when guys are, when guys that people are genuinely upset. It seemed like with the Whitehead situation, specifically. DJ Reed, the Jets needed a corner, whether people want to admit it or not. I think the Jets view Bryce Hall and Brandon Echols as more of that cornerback 2 level guy. Just Bryce Hall's a good, nice player. He's really technically sound. He's not an elite athlete by any means, which I think can hurt him at times. Brandon Echols is a very good athlete, not quite as technically good. So it's better for them to slide into more of a natural cornerback 2 spot where you can slide DJ Reed in now. A little bit shorter guy, but for your prototypical zone corner. He's got really long arms, really good ball skills. He'll take the ball away more. Again, familiar with the scheme. I think he can slide right in, and it's a nice situation. So the Jets, I think, they added 2 quality starters to a secondary that needed
quality
starters. At least 3 starters, right?
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
And again, I don't feel like it's an overpay. The DJ Reed deal, it seems like, is going to be a lot more upside. So it's like, I don't know how much his base salary is going to come in at. Waiting for that to kind of get released here, but look, the Jets again. I think I can't reiterate this enough. This roster was like very bad, right? And they had some nice pieces, and you kind of talk yourself into guys that are probably not that great. Which was my fear with Braxton Berrios, that we were like talking ourselves into him being better. Obviously, the Jets didn't have to overpay, so it's fine. But the Jets got a guy from the San Francisco 49ers, Pro Bowl level starter. The Jets got a Pro Bowl level starter at safety. They got a guy that's a really solid player with upside from the Seahawks. It's like they're getting guys from good organizations that are young, that are playing well, and they're not massively overpaying for anyone. So I like what they've done, especially those three signings to me really stand out. And the tight ends obviously as well. Like they needed starters, right? And now you can go into the draft and kind of it opens up everything. You don't have to be stuck at tight end at 35, and they need a corner at 4, and they now you can go, who do we love? Who's the best player on our board? And it kind of goes from there.
Yeah, it does really set it up. Going back to the Marcus Williams deal, I 100% think it's a miss. You could say is a miss, but I actually everyone was freaking out, and I was bummed out when I heard obviously the news that he obviously signed elsewhere, and especially the figures you see, everyone's like, oh, we could have signed him for that. I knew that he was probably asking for more. It came out obviously that he was asking for more for us, and I'm like, you know what? If he wanted more to come in and he wasn't prepared, then I'm tempted to say I don't really want the guy because I'm done with guys. I've been a Jets fan for 20 years. I've seen that good part and I've seen the bad part, and the things like Trumaine Johnson and deals like that, they really sorry, they really hurt you if you get guys who just come in like mercenaries, who just come in for the money, and because you're offering the most. Like, have guys who come here for good price, which means they want to be here because they're not coming here because they got great money. They got good money, but they're not here for the money. They're here because they like what they see from a culture point of view, from a coaching point of view, and from an infrastructure point of view. That's the guys they can build around, and maybe you can give them an extension once they've earned it, rather than just giving them money just to come in because they've made their name somewhere else. I'm very happy that we stayed away from Marcus Williams if he was playing that nonsense. Honestly, it's like
you don't want to pay that Jets tax anymore.
No more. Again, no more. Like, you just can't, because you may hit on a player and you may go, okay, that player's worth more. Like a CJ Mosley, right? If he didn't get injured and the COVID situation, you can see from his character, the guy came. Yeah, he came because of the Jets tax. but you see he's committed to being an excellent pro, and you saw it the last year, and I think you would have seen it so far. The thing is, you know, you don't most of the players who come because of that reason, it doesn't work out very well. So, I'm pretty happy to stay clear, and I'm really happy with the Jordan Whitehead addition. I don't think it's a massive drop off, even though he's a slightly different type of safety. He's a solid player in that position that we needed. So, no, really, really happy with so far with the off season. So in this kind of free agency period so far, obviously still got a ways to go. I'm sure there'll be stuff before this podcast comes out, and when we're recording it, there'll be some more news as always happens. In terms of some of the guys who left, obviously Marcus May left, as you mentioned before. Morgan Moses, he left as well, and then we also had Fatukasi Foley leave as well to the Jaguars. How do you think that leaves us in terms of the holes that they've left and then the players that they were?
Yeah, so I feel like from Marcus May perspective, obviously he's been a really good Jet for the last 5 years. This year, was unfortunate. Obviously the contract stuff. He's playing well at the beginning of the year. Tears the Achilles. The Jets are losing. It was a disaster from kind of Jump Street this year, only because things ended on a sour note this offseason. I think he thought they were still going to get an extension done. They did not. They started out 0-4, 0-5, whatever, or 0-4, I guess. It's unfortunate, right? So that part hurts a little bit. He got good money in New Orleans. I'm not surprised there. I'm surprised it's a 3-year deal. It does look like it's not really a 3-year deal, though. Whatever the details are looking like. The other ones, it just doesn't really. The Morgan Moses thing, I've seen a lot of people. Why didn't the Jets just give him, $5 million again? Part of the reason is I just think Morgan Moses wants to go start.
Yeah.
And I think, as much as it's, really good guy, he's a solid player last year, and it's not, it is about the money, but also, you want to play, right? Like, you want to start, and for him to go compete for his job again in his age 31 season just doesn't seem. I get it, right? I get it.
Mm-hmm.
The one that doesn't bother me at all is Foley, and I'll put it this way: I like Foley a lot. He's a really fun 6th-round pick. He's from Queens. He's really cool. The hometown kid.
Yeah.
He has 3 career sacks, and he got paid $30 million. It's a lot of money, and he doesn't fit the Jets scheme
money,
anymore.
isn't it?
Yeah, he doesn't fit the Jets scheme anymore. They run a 4-3 defense instead of a 3-4 now, and he struggled a lot this year. And it's not because he's a bad player; he's a nice player for the right situation. But man, if the Jets are paying $10 million a year for a guy that's not a scheme fit, that would have concerned me. The guy, I would have been like, what are we doing here? Why are we? The same thing if it's an offensive lineman that you brought in, a man blocking offensive lineman, you overpaid him and he doesn't fit your scheme. The May one would have been nice to have him playing, free safety back there. Him and Jordan Whitehead would have been a really nice mix, I think. Yeah. But I get it. I think it was time for Marcus to kind of go somewhere else, and he's lost for 5 years straight, right? I mean, I think look, if the Saints get Deshaun Watson today, all of a sudden they're Super Bowl contenders. So again, I get it from his perspective. The Foley one doesn't bother me, and then we'll see. But I don't. The Morgan Moses and May ones you get, Foley, I'm kind of indifferent, if not happy that they let him walk.
I'm basically there with you as well. It's Moses. You would love to have him back because it would open things up again in terms of what we can do at pick 4 specifically. If you can get a really solid backup, I still think you can get a solid backup and then give yourself options at every pick. But he wants to start and then have those starting reps, and to understand that. May wants a fresh start, and Foley, go get your money, right? It's like, well done, dude. Go get your money and go get where Jacksonville just
get paid, man.
Yeah,
get paid.
Jacksonville just giving just ridiculous contracts to everybody. So just join the train and get money, and then see where you are in a few years' time. But yeah, it's really good for those guys. So, in terms of any other potential ads in terms of position wise, or any specific players you're looking at are still on the market, is any that you're looking at?
I think the Jets need to go out and grab like a wide receiver 3, quote unquote, in free agency. Maybe a speed guy, or not Deshaun Jackson, but someone like that. That's kind of maybe more of a one trick pony. But what their Keelan Cole signing was last year, right? That guy that's a more depth, but also somebody that has some abilities, fill in. It's not going to be some mega deal. The Jets have put themselves; they still have quite a bit of room to maneuver and do things if they'd like to. I think everyone would love them to just try to pay Devontae Adams. That's not going to happen, but I'm saying
Allen Robinson though.
Yeah. So I would pay Allen Robinson depending upon what the situation is, but it seems like an Atlanta potentially for him or somewhere like that. Like if Deshaun Watson's going to say a lot for what's going to happen over the next 48 hours, right?
I think that's why there's kind of slowing down. A lot of deals are slowing
100%,
down,
right?
Because
so if he goes to Atlanta, you've seen Jarvis Landry and Allen Robinson, connected there heavily. If Deshaun goes to New Orleans, it opens things up. It's going to say a lot about what's going to happen over the next, 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
I don't think the Jets are in love with Allen Robinson. I think, and he makes sense, but my issue would be if you're signing him to more than a 1 or 2 year deal, couldn't you just draft that guy at 10 for cheaper? But there's no guarantee that guy's gonna be 1,000-yard a year receiver, right? So it's all like the risk reward.
That's
the
debate, and like I said, that's the debate that you can go forward. And I think there's obviously going to be a lot of guys that we can bring in, in any position because we could use help in most positions. But I think we'll kick off into the draft talk in terms of where we are, kind of standing right now with the players that we've got in right now. You mentioned about the whole dynamic of which one do we take, which position do we take at the 4, which position do we take at 10. We've had this debate even within me and my co-hosts have had this debate about whether we go offensive heavy or defensive heavy. In what position do we go with a Kwanu, or do we go with one of the pass rushers? Do we go with if Sauce drops to 10, do you go with him over one of the receivers because then you get a receiver at 35, and you go, well, are these receivers going to be what we need them to be in year 1, where we need them to be big for Zach in his year 2? That's always been my mind, is if you can get a really, a top player, even on a 1-year deal, someone like an Allen Robinson, then you're able to kind of get a guy is proven, who's going to be a great pro and kind of fill out that wide receiver room and be that asset for Zach without, but the potential is that you could get that guy who could just be, great for you straight away. Is that kind of debate. So where do you stand in terms of the whole kind of top of the draft?
Yeah, so for me, as of now, I still think it's going to be edge, wide receiver, the first 2 picks. There's a debate to be had for Ike Ekwonu if he's there. I know Connor Rogers is incredibly high on Ike.
Yeah.
He's his number 1 player, and I get it. Ike's, I think, my number 3 player, so trust me, it's not like I'm far off there. Number 2, I haven't finished up my official. He's my number 1 tackle. I get it, right? And if you have questions about Mekhi Becton and you can't trust him, it's hard to pass on your proverbial number 1 player. That situation. What I will say is I do think the best allocation of resources for 2022 would be to go edge, wide receiver, and then safety. Daxton Hill was seen at 35, and maybe you double up at receiver, or you double up at edge, or you do whatever you need. Or offensive line, right? I would love them to add a linebacker because then maybe they go corner at 38. You never know, but edge and receiver are probably the 2 most important non-quarterback positions in the modern NFL, and the Jets don't really have. If you can take. They don't have a number 1 wide receiver that's proven. Elijah Moore might be that guy. We don't know.
Yeah.
And Carl Lawson might be number 1 edge, but again, we don't really know because he's played 13 practices. So, Kayvon Thibodeau, a Jermaine Johnson at 4, and then at 10, Drake London or Garrett Wilson for me would be the picks. As we sit here, March 17th.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that one. I think the whole Ekwonu thing is I do understand, he may be the top player, and I guess depending on how much better you think he is than others, then you go, that's gonna, weigh your opinion on that. But to be honest, for me, it is if they take a corner, then you know what they think of Mekhi Becton effectively, because it's like the whole Denzel Mims situation. Like they knew what was happening. We were ranting, we were raving about why he wasn't playing, and by the end of the season, we kind of realized, we kind of pieced it together why he wasn't playing the reps and why he wasn't getting on the field. So I think if they see this behind the scenes, they know more than what we know, obviously. So if they go with a corner, it kind of tells you maybe what they think of Becton. I hope that that's not the case. You hope that Becton is trying to come back for a dominant third year, and and then you hope that he that one of those pass rushers is another big need, another premium position, and if you don't have to, if you don't have to fill that need, don't have to fill the Aquanu coming in, you can have one of those pass rushers come in and make a big splash. Wide receiver, I completely agree with that. Like I said, the only thing is, if Source drops to 10, I particularly love Source Gardner a lot, and if he drops to 10, that's when it gets a little bit, for me, I'm like, oh well, if he's there and the receivers, then it gets a bit interesting for me. And then I start to think, well, who could you get at 35 at receiver? Saying that you'll be able to get Source at 10. That's the only thing that kind of like changes. What's your opinion on that situation if Source is there at 10, or what's your opinion on
Yeah.
the cornerbacks?
So, excuse me. I like Sauce a lot. He's my cornerback 1. I still think he's in play at 4. To be honest with you, if you really feel like, again, I just want the Jets to follow their board. If Sauce is your number 3 player, for example, and he's there,
Yeah.
Sauce, DJ Reed, and then Bryce Hall and Eccles as your cornerback 3, all of a sudden that's a really good room, right? Like from day one. Do I think it'd be a bit rich to take him at 4? Probably. Again, I don't think he's lasting to 10. So
No. That's why I said if he's there, that's when it
there.
changes the equation, because you never know with the draft. These things can happen.
Him and Hamilton, I don't think will be there, but if they are there at 10, you have to have it. You have to seriously consider it, right? Do I think that's what I would do? Again, probably not. But I don't know. It's tough. The draft's hard because it's all every organization feels differently about these guys. I think that's what makes it fun. But look, I know they like Drake London. I know Garrett Wilson's high. And I know like Traylon Burks they like, but Traylon Burks had a tough combine and his pro day wasn't great. So I do think for a guy like him having an even average pro day was not going to get not going to be enough. But Wilson's really exciting, and I didn't think he was going to run 4.37 or 4.38, whatever he ran. London, I'd like to see be able to test, but he would be something that they totally do not have in this offense right now, and I think that'd be exciting for Zach Wilson to be able to have somebody he can throw the ball up to, and they can play him in the slot at points and all these different things. So yeah, Sauce is tough, right? I just think it's if he's still there at 10, it'd be hard for me to pass on him, even with the DJ Reed signing, right? But
yeah,
we'll see. I don't know. There's like 7 or 8 guys in the top 10 you could argue that the Jets should be all over.
Yeah, it's such an open draft, and like I said, with the team with as many avenues to improve, you can go anywhere. And I just, the biggest one for me is just the pick at 4. I'm just very, very adamant that I hope that because it obviously is good vibes if they go with the pass rusher, it means that there's probably internally they have a bit more confidence in Becton than they were worried about, So that's obviously, and just the thought of having, either Hutchinson, who most likely won't be there, but just you never know, and then Thibodeau and JJ. One of those 3, I think, is a clear difference in terms of what you can get at different parts of the draft, and I really hope that's where they strike the iron, because I am so tired of not having that guy, and even last year was the biggest tease ever, where Carl Lawson's just blowing up camp. We're hearing all these reports.
Oh, of course.
And then he blows his Achilles. You're like, oh my god! Even it's like the curse just continues. So, you just let's just address this and him across. Carl Lawson comes back, and if he comes back anywhere near where he was last year, and you put one of those edge rushers on the other side with Q in the middle, it could get really fun. Actually, it could get really fun, and then that's when that's where Salah wants to go. So it's not something that's kind of far fetched. So no, it's really exciting times. But I think we'll wrap it up for now. Obviously, there's a lot more talks in terms of the draft as we get closer to it. But Will, thank you so much for joining me on this one and helping fill out the role of kind of co-host on this one. No, it's been a really good chat, and obviously we'll see. There's going to be more signings coming. And obviously, we'll wrap it up. Next week we'll have another show, kind of chatting about some of the other kind of second, third wave signings. Obviously. If you want to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, you can do that at Jets UK Pod. We are on YouTube as well. You can you can watch the video version of this podcast as well on there. So yeah, no, Will, thanks for joining us. What have you got cooking on your side with podcasts and appearances?
So have a nice pod coming up next week with Brandon Thorne and Ryan Clark. They're going to break down some of these signings, kind of more in depth. And we're going to talk a lot about Mekhi Becton and Ike Ekwonu and where these guys settle and stuff like that. And stuff like that. But yeah, make sure to follow and tune in. And you guys are doing a great job, and I appreciate kind of having me on.
No, it's really appreciate you being on. So yeah, guys, enjoy the rest of the free agent craziness, and hopefully maybe there's a few more exciting signings to come. And we will catch you next week.